Tonight what we're going to do is show you how you can get out of debt in 1/2 to 1/3 the time, and get this, no refinancing, little to no change in your lifestyle, and no additional income required. Now folks, if that was true, that'd be pretty incredible, wouldn't it? Now I know how you feel because I felt the same way back 4.5 years ago when a friend of mine called me and said, Ken, I'm going to pay off my 30-year mortgage in 10 years and 9 months and save over $300,000. I said, well, good for you. He said, no, he said, listen to me, Ken. He said, I didn't have to refinance, change my lifestyle, or come up with additional income. And I said, yeah, right. How are you going to do that one? He said, well, I'm coming to see you. And he flew down from Pennsylvania down to Central Florida. And I invited a bunch of folks over to my house at that time. And one of them was my son. He's a pastor, and he had 29 years left on his mortgage. And there were several other couples. And then there was another couple named Stan and Mary. Well, Stan and Mary were 72 years of age at the time, and they had 22 years left on one house and 17 on another one, plus some other debt. And George ran their numbers, and you're going to hear me talk about running your numbers throughout the presentation. It's free, and it only takes about 10 minutes to do that. Well, they ran the numbers, said that they were going to pay off both houses and all their debt in 3.8 years. Now, folks, that sounds too good to be true, doesn't it? Without changing their lifestyle, without coming up with additional income. Well, they looked at me and said, what do you think, Ken? I said, well, if it doesn't work, don't be mad at me. You know, I didn't want to lose their friendship because I didn't understand how it worked. Folks, today they're debt-free. Less than 4 years, they accomplished that. And, you know, life happens. You know, they had things happen during those 4 years, but they're completely debt-free today. And I'm excited about that. As of today, I have 14 people that I know of that's completely out of debt, and I have a lot of people that will be out of debt in the next 6 months, a year, 2, 3 years. All right? So we're going to jump into this and get started here. You know, I'm going to explain how a mortgage works, but before I jump right into that, I want to show you something here. You see this word FedEx, all right? Do you notice the arrow in the word FedEx? Do you see the arrow? Okay, time's up. There it is. Now, folks, the reason I share that with you, if you never noticed that before, sometimes things are right in front of our face, but nobody takes the time to show us. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how a mortgage works. Let's jump in here now and let's get started. Let's look at a standard mortgage, a $200,000 6% interest rate. The payment would be $1,199.10. That's for 360 months. That's 30 years. You would pay back $431,677. Wow, that's a $200 principal loan amount, and that's $231,000 just in interest. Now, let me ask you a question. What else do you pay double on? I mean, you don't get a car loan at $25,000, pay back $50,000. So why do we do it on the most expensive thing we purchase? Well, we need to learn about that, right? So let's go on. You know what the problem is out there? There's little to no financial education in school. Think about it. You know, I know when I was a senior in high school in 1977, I remember them teaching me how to write checks, not how to balance it. Now, they did this in the last 30 days of my senior year, showed me how to write a check. That was my financial education. So today we're going to learn something here, and I appreciate you being here. Let's look at a $200,000 6% 30-year mortgage. The payment's $1,199.10. Let's look at month one. Look at that. $199.10 would go to principal, and $1,000 would go to interest. Now, you all know that. We know that, right? Look at month two. It would jump up $1. $1 more to principal and $1 less to interest. Let's look at a year. After a year, if you noticed over there, under paid, you would have paid in over $14,389 after-tax dollars, and only $24.57 went to equity. If I subtract 24 from 14, that's $11,900 in interest to get credit for $2,400. Look at 5 years. In 5 years, you would have paid in $71,000 and only got credit for $13,000. Now, folks, that's, if I take the 13 from 71, that's $58,000 in interest. I got an article here out of the Star Banner. Let me see if you agree with what he said in that article. It says, I locked in an interest rate of 4.25. I'm saving $160 a month. Anytime you can save $1, why not, right? Well, let's see if you believe that. You see, I used to believe that. But let's say that gentleman had a $200,000 6% mortgage and he was in his 5th year. If he was in his 5th year and he paid $71,000 to the bank, and now he's going to go back and refinance, and he starts all the way back up at month 1 to save $160 a month, let's see what happens in 5 years later. He's back down here to the 5 years, and if I take 13 from 71, that's $58,000 he paid the first time. Now he's paying in another $50,000 in interest, right? So that, let's forget the equity times 2. Let's just take that $100,000, and now he's saving $160 a month. Well, hey, do it on your calculator. Take $160 times 12 months times 5 years. You know what he saved? $9,600. Now, folks, did he save that? Or did it cost him $100,000 in interest just to get back where he started? Hey, I hope you got that. Let's go to the 10th year. 10 years, you would have paid in $143,000 and only $32,000 went to equity. 21 years before you get the halfway point. Look at that equity. You got $100,000 equity. The balance, you still owe $199,000, but yet you paid in over $302,000 in interest, total payments. Let me ask you a question. How many of you, how long have you lived in your house? Have you made it there 21 years without refinancing? You know, I ask that question everywhere I go around the country. You know, I've seen 13 hands raised in 4.5 years. People that have lived in the same house 21 years and have not refinanced. You see, the national averages is people either refinance every 3 to 5 years or they move every 7 to 10 years. Which one are you? Look at this. 30 years, you would have paid back $431,000. So that is a total of $231,677 just in interest. Now, folks, this is a 6% interest rate here. But if I borrow $200,000 and I pay back $400,000, what percentage is that? Isn't that 100%? And if I pay back $31,000, isn't that 16%? So I'm going to talk about effective interest rate. You see, that's an effective interest rate of 116%. Now, it is a 6% compounded interest rate, but the effective rate means what you actually paid out of your pocket. 116%. Let's see what Albert Einstein said. He had a lot of things that he said. He called compound interest the 8th wonder of the world. There's the equation to compound interest. Figure that one out. He also said there's 2 types of people in this world. Those who pay interest and those who earn interest. Which one are you? Wait a minute. Which one would you like to be? Thank you. Now we're going to talk about prepayment of principal here. We all know that you can send extra money to your mortgage or extra money to your credit card or to your car payment or whatever. We know that. But let's talk about what it's about. Okay? Look at this here. In your mortgage statements, it says this: we have the right to make payments of principal at any time before they are due. A payment of principal only is known as a prepayment. Now that is in your stack of information in your mortgage and all that paperwork, all right? So you have the right to make principal payments. Now what I'm getting ready to show you is how a mortgage works. Not what we do, but how a mortgage works. So I'm going to pull up an amortization schedule here. And I want you to see this. You've seen them before. You see month 1 there, January. Now, if you have a 30-year mortgage, you're going to have 360 payments. They're usually 7 or 8 pages long, and it looks like this here. Now, look at number 1 there. Let's call that January. Now, the bank can only make you make 1 payment per month. They cannot make you make 2 payments, but you are required to make 1 payment per month. So, look at that. January, $199.10 goes to principal, and $1,000 goes to interest. Now, what if we send an extra $200.10 in with that payment in January? Because you can't send extra money. Now, again, this is not what we do. I just want you to see how a mortgage works. So let's say that you took $200.10 and you sent it in with January's payment. Now, I want to ask you this. When is the next payment due? What payment line would we be at? And how much interest would that save you if you sent $200 in with that $11.99 payment month 1, January? Okay, your time's up. Well, you have to make a payment in February. But you would not make line number 2, you would go to line number 3, and you would make the line 3, you would make that payment. The $200 that you sent extra, look at that, right next to the 200 on line 2, look at $200.10 would save you $999. Now, folks, if you had 200, would you trade that for $999 if you had it? Okay. Now you say, well, that can't be that easy. Yes, listen. If I go over to the balance all the way to the right, look at if I start out with 200,000, I subtract the 199.10 principal January, look at the balance. It's down to $199,800.90. If I make the next one, February payment, $200 the principal and $999 the interest, look at that. It didn't knock off $1,100. It knocked off exactly $200, from $800 down to $600. You see that? You see, you don't get credit for that interest. Okay? So I want you to understand how mortgage works. It gets a little better. Now, always remember the borrower's right to prepay. Now, what if we took and we paid January's payment right here in month 1, January, and we went ahead and sent all this principal in right here, which would total $2,456.01. If we did that, what would happen next? Well, at the end of the first year, you would have paid off $2,456.01. And look at this. And the bank only charged you $11,933.19 to do it. Does that sound fair? Now listen, I'm not here to bash the bank or the mortgage companies, because listen, if it wasn't for them, would you be able to be in that house that you're in today? But what I am here to say is this. We got to learn to do something better than what we're doing. Don't you agree? Now, if you take that 2456 and subtract that from 200,000, guess what your answer is? There it is. You see, you didn't get credit for that $11,933. Wow. Let's go on. What if you paid that balance on the principal amount for 12 months, totaling the 2456? Let's say you made January's payment, and you went ahead and sent the rest of that principal for the whole year right there. Now, you say, Ken, I don't have that. I'm here to tell you that I'm going to show you just in a minute. My brother's, he had 27.8 years left. He was living paycheck to paycheck, and at the end of the month, after he paid all his bills, he had $50 left. He went from 27.8 down to 7 years. Isn't that amazing? You can do the same thing. See, to get somewhere, you got to know where you're going. Now, let's take a look at this. How would you pay off this debt? Let's say you had a line of credit, you had a furniture payment, you had a mortgage, you had a trailer loan, you had an ATV loan, and a car loan. It doesn't matter, but you had 6 debts. If you have 6 debts, factorial math says that there's 720 ways to pay that off right there. There's 720 different ways to pay that off. Let's look at a couple of ways that the professionals out there teach us. Well, some of them say pay off the highest interest rate. So that means you would pay this one off first and then take that payment. Then you would go over here and pay this one off. Then you would go over here and pay this one off. And you know what? That's one ideal, and that would work. I mean, that is one out of the 720 ways. Then you got experts out there to say, no, that's not the way to do it. They say, no, what you do is you pay off the lowest amount on the credit card. Then you roll that to the next one. Then you roll that to the next one. And that, you know what, that would work too. So we got 2 ways, but are those the fastest way to zero? Well, I know in each one of those cases, I would never pay off the line of credit before in either one of those orders, because this is a daily average balance, and the rest of these are all compounded, okay? So understand something. Are those good ways? They're better than no ways, right? So what we're going to talk about is, what if you had a GPS that could show you exactly how to get to zero, the fastest way? You wouldn't even have to think about it. Kind of like in a car. You know, if you make the wrong turn, it tells you what to do. Well, how about if you had a financial GPS that says, if you do that, it's going to cost you this much in interest and it's going to raise this much time on you? Well, that'd be pretty cool, wouldn't it? Let's take a look here in just a second. Here's my brother's analysis. My brother bought a house 23 years ago for $50,000. Why did he get such a good deal? Well, it has an in-ground pool, nice house, nice neighborhood. His father-in-law passed away, and his mother-in-law said, you can have it for what I owe on it. Now, 23 years later, look what he owes on that mortgage, $104,921.60. Now, did he go the wrong way, folks? Yes. Now, I never show anybody's numbers. The reason I'm showing you his is he gave me permission, and I do appreciate that. But folks, he's no different than 85 to 90% of America. Here's why. Remember what I said earlier? I said people refinance every 3 to 5 years, or they sell their home and buy another house every 7 to 10. Which one are you? See, he's no different. Guess what? Every 3 to 5 years, he would refinance. Not only does he owe that 104, but he owes all this other debt, which totals 141,000. He's paying out $2,369 in minimum payments. He makes $2,699 net income per month. His wife gets $1,208. That's a total of $3,907 in net income. You can't spend gross, right? Now let's go down here. That's his net income. Here's his fixed expenses, the minimum payments that we talked about up here. And after he pays all his bills, he has $50 left at the end of the month. That's called discretionary. That would be money that you could put in a savings account. Now, folks, I don't care if it's $10, $5, $20, $50. That was all he had was $50. If you only have $20, run your numbers, okay? Because you don't know how to get there if you don't run your numbers. You can't tell what it's going to do for you. The rest of the money is $1,487. That's living expenses. That's gas, groceries, insurance, phone bills, things like that, okay? Insurance. Now, let me ask you a question. If you was to get a 50-cent raise, what would it do to your lifestyle? I want you to think about that. Okay, great. Here's what you said. You said nothing, or you said not much. One of those two things. Now, folks, I'm here to say differently. You see, if you get a 50-cent raise, most of us think that way. It wouldn't do nothing. But you know, 50 cents times 40 hours is $20. Take that times 4 weeks, and that's $80. Now, let's see what $50 does to my brother. Now, we only got 50, so that's less than 80, right? And you said not much or nothing when I asked that question. Now, let's see what it does. Let's go to the next page and look. Based on his income, his debt, and that $50, here's what it guarantees that he would do for him if he follows the program. Okay, based on his numbers, watch this. He will save $125,000. That's $125,330.18 that would go back in his pocket, not the mortgage company's pocket or the bank's. Okay? He will be out of debt, payoff time in 7 years. Saving him 20.8 years. Now, folks, can you see 7 years from now? Exactly. See, 7 years is a lot easier to see than 27 or 28, 29, 30 years, right? So based on his numbers, he'll be out of debt in 7 years, okay? Now, he's 48 years old. 7 years from now, he'll be 55. That's 10 years before retirement. Now, if he did get on the program, where will he be? Let's see. 23 years later, he owes more than double on the house that he bought 23 years ago. So 28 years, 27 plus 27.8 years from now, where will he be? He'll be in his 70s. And you know what? Then at that point, he'll be looking at doing what? Refinancing again. Now, we're going to take a look at how this works. So I'm going to pull that up and show you how this exactly works, okay? Now, this is not something that goes in your computer. It's a web base. So what you do, anywhere in the world, that if you can get on the internet, you can log into your program. All right, so you notice I put up here username and password. All right, now I'm going to go log in right here. And when I log in, it's going to come up, and there's 4 questions that it asks. And every time I log in, it asks a different question. So fortunately, I have never had a broken bone. So that's good. Now, if you want to skip this, you could rest your computer to skip this. So I'm going to go ahead and log in here. Okay, now, folks, we've logged into our software. And again, you can do that anywhere in the world if you can get on the internet, okay? So we're going to log into here. And you noticed up here, this is John and Rebecca Jones. They have a 30-year mortgage. And remember, they was going to pay $231,000 just in interest. Well, if they get on the program, they're going to be out of debt in 7.6 years. Now, that's a lot better than 30, isn't it? Over here it says interest remaining, they're going to pay $55,942 in interest. They're going to save $180,000 in their pocket versus a bank. Now, this is called our dashboard, folks. To get somewhere, you got to know where to go. And that's the only problem out there. First of all, you don't know where you're going. You've been educated on how to make money, not how money works or how you can get out of debt in half to third the time. So this is our dashboard. Now, if we want to change this, I go right across that plus sign, and I can go in here and change my dashboard to whatever I want. Let's put payoff date. Now, John and Rebecca Jones knows that on 12/6/2018, they will be completely out of debt. Let me ask you this. What day, what month, or matter of fact, what year will you be out of debt? Can you tell me? You see, I live in a small town, and I go into Walmart, and I run into people that say, hey, Ken, you told me 10.1 years, we're down to 6.2. They know exactly where they're at all times. Do you? Now, I'm going to change that back to interest remaining. So again, I can make my dashboard however I want up there. Now, there is 4 tabs: the action plan, budget, accounts, and reports. Now, reports pretty much speak for itself. Reports is all kinds of reports, and I'm going to show you that. Accounts is all your accounts. Budget is something that we're not good at, but this guides you on how to do that. Now, again, remember what I said at the beginning. Be out of debt in half to third the time without refinancing, little to no change in your lifestyle, and no extra income required. Now, you see my brother's analysis, okay? That's without changing his lifestyle. Now, you will end up changing your lifestyle because once you understand what $50 can do, you've seen it right there, $50 pay off in 7 years. So budgeting is good, and then we have the action plan. The action plan is no different than what you're doing today. Right here is the action plan. It says where is the money coming from and where it's going to. So, for example, John gets paid. He's going to put his paycheck into his checking account, $950, okay, every 2 weeks. That's when he puts his money into his account. All right, now, you see it says May here. I'm going to scroll down, and you're going to see it always shows 3 months of what's going on, May, June, and July. It always shows 3 months. When May is gone, then it will say June, July, and August, all right? So I want you to see this. Now, I'm going to go right over here to accounts, and let's look at all the different accounts that we have, all right? Not only are we going to pay off the 30-year mortgage in 7.6 years, but they also have an auto loan in there at 4%, 60 months, that's 5 years, $25,000, they're paying $460 a month. They're also paying off a Visa at 21%, they owe $2,000, the payment's $50. They have a first mortgage at 6%, 360 months, that's 30 years, paying off $200,000, and the payment's $1199.10. So let's go back to the action plan, and let's go ahead and tell the program that we did these things. Now, I notice when I've sat down with people, they have a book where they check off when they make their mortgage payment or their car payment or whatever. I'm going to go here, and I'm going to highlight this. So I'm going to highlight it. I'm going to click on it. I'm going to go down and say that John did get paid. He deposited his paycheck. He paid his mortgage on the 1st of the month. Let's say this is the 10th of the month. He's just getting around to doing it. And he paid his utility bill. And Rebecca made $700, and she got that. And she deposited in her account. So I'm going to go over here and hit execute multiple actions. I'm letting the program know that he did those things. Now, wait a minute. What if you're not on salary and you get a different paycheck every month? Watch this. Click on that, and I can delete that $900. I can go ahead and just delete the 9 and change that to $750. Maybe John was sick for a few days and he only made $750. Maybe he's on commission. It might change every paycheck. That's fine. You can change it right there. Now, everything else is what I did. I'm going to hit select all, which is I'm going to hit final transaction. I'm going to hit select all. That's all I'm doing. Now, if I hadn't have been showing you all this and I just logged in, it would have taken me less than 1 minute to just highlight those things and hit execute. Don't you agree? It wouldn't have taken me no time at all to hit that and let the program know that I paid the house payment, okay? And I paid the utility bill. That's it. Now we've done that, and now I want to go over to accounts, and I'm going to click back on the accounts. Now, in the account page, it shows all your accounts, your checking account, your savings, if you had 5 checking accounts, they would all be listed here. And by the way, all your debt and all your bank accounts would be listed here. And if you'd like to, see this little bank right here? You can connect your account to your bank. If your bank has online banking, you can connect that to your bank. Now, what's that mean? Well, this could be a one-stop place to go. In other words, I could log in here, see where I'm at, see what I'm paying in interest, see what I'm going to save, and I could do my banking from right here. Instead of logging on to bank.com and looking at my my account, I could look in right here. If I have $550 in my checking account, I could click on history and see everything that came in as of midnight last night. I could look at my savings account. I can see my auto loan. If I'm in a car loan with City Financial, and let's say for an example, I don't have to log out of my bank account, then go log into my car account to look at my balance. I can see it right here, my total balance, and I can check on history right from this page here. I can look at my Visa account, my mortgage. Now, matter of fact, look at this. We were at $200,000, but since we made our first payment, let's go to history and look at that. In the history, it says that I made a payment, okay, of $1,199. I did it on 5/1/2011, and $199 went to principal and $1,000 went to interest. There's my balance. Now, folks, if you don't think this is important right here, checking your balance, let me ask you a question. Do you think that banks ever make mistakes? Well, folks, it happens all the time, and I'll prove that it happened to you probably already. My wife's friend, they got on the program, and they were checking their statement. They went into their balance, and they checked it, and it was off $2,900 and some odd dollars. Well, they seen it. They called the bank up and said, we believe you made a mistake. They said, we'll check into it, and they got back with them in 2 days. They said, we found a mistake, and they corrected the count. Now, that was almost $3,000, folks. I know that when I was younger, my wife and I, we had a credit card account, and I can't remember the balance or the payment, but I'll tell you it was like this. It was around $600, and the payment was $50. But I want you to get what happened to me there. One month, I decided I was going to send $200 extra in with the $50 payment, so I sent in $250. 30 days later, I get a statement. It said 0 payment due this month. I said, hey, honey, we can go to dinner and see a movie. You know, I was young and naive. Now, wait a minute. Do you think that credit card company thought that I just didn't want to make a payment for 5 or 6 months? Or do you think they knew I wanted that to go from $600 down to $400? What do you think? But you know what? When I did that, and if I called and argued, I couldn't tell them what my balance should have been. But here I could look in here and I could tell them exactly from the day they got their payment, exactly what my balance should be based on me sending that extra $200. But I didn't know what to do. You know what? That's what they want you to think. It happens all the time. Matter of fact, you can do a mortgage audit right now. Hey, are you doing biweekly, or do you send an extra money in with your payments? Do you know exactly where you should be when you do that? Right here's the answer. You know what? They have, right now, you can go do a mortgage audit, and they're finding anywhere on the average of $1,500 to $3,000 mistakes. Hey, we were running the numbers on a guy the other day and found out that a bank had put forced insurance on one of his properties 6 years ago. Should have never been there. It was a mistake. We found that running the numbers. If he'd have been on this, he would have caught it month 1 or month 2, not 6 years later when we told him. All right? So this is very important to understand. So accounts, I can pull up the accounts, and I can either go just look at bank accounts, I can go to creditors and loans, I can go to mortgages. If you have more than one mortgage, folks, this works with multiple mortgages. Hey, what if you don't have a mortgage? You just have debt. This works for you also, okay? My sister had 9 years left on all her debt. We ran her numbers. She'd be out of debt in 1 year and 8 months. That's better than 9, isn't it? Okay. Now, let's go to budgeting. So again, there's 4 tabs here. Now you say, well, what if I have problems here? Over here under the help, you see it says live chat. Okay? That's from 10 a.m. Eastern to 10 p.m. Eastern at night. Look at here. Training videos. They got 2 to 3 minute videos explaining each and every one of these items, explaining to you how this works. So you have videos, you have live chat, or you have an 800 number that you can call in and talk to a live person. All right? Now, budgeting. Have you ever tried to budget for eating out? Do you go home and write down what you spent that night? Let's say I go out tonight and I spend $50 and $52.12. I don't come home and write that down, and then tomorrow eat lunch and come home and write that down. We don't do it, right? We probably don't even know what we're spending in food and dining, right? Watch this. Every time I go out, and if I hook up my accounts, now you can do it manually or you can hook up your accounts. Remember to connect your accounts. If I go out and swipe my debit card or credit card, and it's at a restaurant, say it's $52.13 tonight, at midnight when that hits the bank, it will come in here and it will total up right here. The total will come here. Now I've set a budget of $400. John and Rebecca Jones here set a budget of $400. They go out tonight and eat, and it's $52.13. That would come in, and this would start to fill up with blue. Remember, we received 2 paychecks, John and Rebecca's first 2 paychecks, right? Guess what? The blue starts to fill out, and there's the $1,450 out of $5,000 they make per month. Here's the utilities. We pay $200 of $350, so it's already filled up that much. This would start to fill up with blue, and this would total up on your expenses. Now, again, watch this. Let's say I want to set a budget. I want it to text me when it's at $300. Or I can do it at 50, 100, 200, whatever, but I'm going to say text me at $300. So I go out, and tonight I swipe my card, that's $52.13. It hits the bank account at midnight. The next morning I get up, and there's a text on my phone that says, you're at $312.14, and it's the 15th of the month. Now, what's that telling me? It's telling me I'm not going to hit budget if I'm at the middle of the month and I'm already over that much, right? That means I need to slow down. Now, it's not going to stop me. I could keep on going out and eat, and it's just going to keep totaling up here, but this is a guideline. It kind of helps you. There's so much more to this program than what I'm able to share with you tonight. I could spend an hour with you showing you what this program does, okay? Let's say I want to add a car expense. I want to go in here, and let's say I want to just add let's say a friend of mine's got a paper route, and I want to take that over. Let's just go add that once. I'm going to hit add an expense. I'm going to put in here that I buy my gas from, say, BP. It's easier to type in, right? And I'm going to select a category. I do this one time, and that's it. I'm going to go down here to vehicle and transportation. I'm going to go over to gas and fuel, and I'm going to put that in as a category. Now, my friend tells me that it's costing him $400 a month in gas, okay? So it's costing $400 a month in gas. So let's put that in there once. Oh, $450 just in gas. So we're going to put $450 in there, and that's per month, okay? Now, I'm going to hit save. Watch how fast. Now, we're at 7.6 years. Now, if I add an expense, that's going to go up, right? And this is going to go up on interest remaining. So watch within seconds when I hit save. $450 a month, we went from 7.6 to 9.4. Now, that's a $400 a month expense. If you notice right here, it is BP. Every time I swipe my debit card, let's say I want it to text me at $200. So I'm at the 20th of the month, and it texts me and it says, Ken, you're at $420, and it's the 20th of the month. Well, then I'm probably going to hit my budget. But look at this. I want you to notice we went from $55,000 to $67,000 in interest. We were going to save, $190,000. Now we're down to $167,000, but we went from 6.7 to 9.4. Now, what did that add? What, a couple of years? Not much, 2 years and 3 months. So I can tell exactly where I'm at all times. Now, if I'm going to add an expense like that, I'm going to have to add income, right? So I click on here, and I'm going to add more income. So there's John's pay, there's Rebecca. If it changes, I can go in here and change it. If you get a raise, or if you get, if you lose money, whatever it is, now I'm going to hit add income. It's so simple, you can't mess this up. I'm going to put in here, I'm going to type in newspaper. Okay, I just put newspaper. I want to know where the income's coming from, so newspaper. And I'm going to put in here $1,500 a month. I'm making $1,500. Now, if my expenses are $400 and I'm making $1,500, watch what happens when I hit the save button. We're at 9.4. We're at $67,000 interest. Watch what happens here when I hit save. We go from 9.4. Oh, I get a category, so I'm sorry. See, if you mess up, it's okay because they'll tell you what to do. So I have to select income. I can put whatever it is. So I'll put in here income. I hit save, 9.4, 67,000. Here we are. 5.5, 38,000. Within seconds. Look at that, folks. If I went out and had another 1,500 coming in, hey, from some other way of form of income, look what just happened there. Plus, I'm spending $400. Hey, you want to buy a car? You can go add that and see what it's doing. We're not telling you not to live. It's just knowing how to get there, okay? Now, let's go to reports. And we're going to wrap this up in the next few minutes. We're about done. Look at here. Create your own tax and business and personal spending reports. I can print out, if I want personal or business, I can separate that, hand it to my tax accountant at the end of the year, And it's all printed out. It's right there. I can email it to them if I wanted to. Let's go over to this. There's all kinds of different reports. Let me click on this one. Budget. There's budget reports, funds transferred, expenses, income, all kinds of time frame, net worth. I'm going to click on categories. I want to show you this here. Have you ever said at the end of the month, where in the heck did all our money go? Or maybe at the end of the year, you looked at your W-2 forms, you said, we made that much? Or is that all we made? You've been there, right? Now I'm going to hit over here. I can print out last month, this year. I'm going to hit PDF file. And everything that we did in the first month, you know, the 4 things I showed you, is going to show up here. Rebecca's paycheck, utilities, everything that I paid in month 1 is going to show up in reports. Now, it's not going to show you percentages. It's going to show you exactly the dollar amount and where it went. Bills and utilities, $200. That's utilities. Now, I didn't categorize the mortgage, but that's the mortgage, and then income. Remember, if I went and did the car payment and all the other expenses and hit that, it would all show up here, and I could print that out. It can tell exactly where every dollar goes, not percentage, but every dime, okay? And I can print this out. I want to show you this here. Last couple of things here. I'm going to go to settings over here, and I want to go to preferences, and I want to pull this up here. Let's say you didn't have this program, and you had that car payment, you had a 30-year mortgage, but you paid that car off. You paid that car off. Wouldn't you be excited if you paid that car off? I remember I used to have 122 employees, and they would come up to me, some of them, and say, hey, Ken, I only got 2 more months left on my car payment. Now, I'm going to change this program focus setting. See, it's always set on automatic because we want it to get us to 0 the fastest way possible, right? Now, whatever debt you have, it's going to show up here. Remember, John and Rebecca has a first mortgage, an auto loan, a Visa. If you had 10 debts, they would all be listed there, okay? Now, I want you to notice 38,000, 5.5 years, and I'm going to click, we want to change it from automatic to auto loan. We want to focus on the auto loan. Now, if you didn't have this program and you paid your car off fast, you'd be excited, right? Well, now watch the interest, 38,000 and 5.5, but watch this interest up here, 38,767. I'm going to change it within seconds. I'm going to change it from auto loan, and watch what happens to the interest remaining. 38,000 now goes to 40,000. Now that's $1,800, $1,900 that it cost you because you wanted to focus on the car. Now, folks, it doesn't mean that we're going to pay the 5-year car off in 5.6 years or 7.6. It means that we're going to pay that car off in half the third the time. So half of 5 years would be 2.5, or down to 1 year. Again, watch that now. I'm going to change that back to automatic, and we're at 40,525. Before I can even say it, we're from 40,000 down to 38,767. That is $1,900 mistake. How many mistakes like that are you going to make over the next 28, 29, 30 years? Or if you have a 15-year mortgage. Folks, I got people that had a 15-year mortgage that are out of debt now. I got people that had 30-year mortgage that are completely out of debt. I have a lady I'm thinking of right now. She had a 30-year mortgage, owed $213,000, and guess what? 3.5 years later, she was done. She had a regular job, and she's done. She said, if I hadn't been on the program, guess what? I'd have 26.5 years left and probably be looking at refinancing. So I want you to see that, down to 38,000. Now let's go to system settings. And this is the last time I'm going to show you on here. Not only are we going to be out of debt now in 5.5 years with everything that's happened in John and Rebecca Jones's life, they also are going to have $2,051 in emergency fund. It's going to help them get there, okay? Now I'm going to change that. I'm going to click on Other, and I'm going to put in here $100,000. I'm going to type in here $100,000, and I want to see what it would do. So notice when I type in the $100,000, okay, I got $100,000 in there. Yep, that's it. I'm going to hit save, and when I do, I want you to watch this years and the interest. And we were saving $196,000. Let's see what happens here. Within seconds, watch what happens. 5.5. We know it's going to go up, right? Wow, 7.5. Now, folks, let me ask you a question. I know what you're feeling. Sounds too good to be true. Listen, we are a 20-year-old company. MMA Capital Resources has been around 20 years. Get this. I've been doing this 4.5 years. It does work. When I used to see this at the beginning, I thought the software was, I thought there was something wrong. Now, let me ask you this. If your bank called you up today and said, we're going to refinance you from 30 years down to 7.5 years, And we're going to save you $166,000 on your mortgage. And if you do it by Friday of this week, if you give us the okay, we'll stick $100,000 in your savings account. How many of you would take that deal? And by the way, only pay $69,000 in interest instead of $231,000. I bet you every one of you would take that deal right now. You know what? It's here for you today. Now I'm going to go back to the PowerPoint. I want you to see this, wrapping it up. I want you to see what I'm talking about. My brother owed $141,000 in the conventional program. He owed $141,804.99. After 1 year, he would be down to $132, just making his payments. Okay. He had 27.8 years left on his debt. He was going to pay $170,000 just in interest plus the $141 he borrowed. You with me? Now, over here with the MA program, guess what? He had $141. After 1 year, he'd be down to $125. He'll be out of debt and guaranteed in 7 years if he follows the program based on his income, his debt, and his discretionary. But you know, life happens. It changes, right? It's okay. I remember Stan and Mary had to put a $7,500 roof on their house. They still got done in 3.8 years. Okay? Look at here. $45,000 in interest. Isn't that better than $170,000 in interest? That was saving him $125,060.54. Now, I wanted to see what it was costing him if he told me no. See, I ran his numbers, and I always wanted to see what it cost somebody if they tell me no. So here's what I did. I took the $125,000 that it was guaranteed to save him, the 7 years, which is 84 months, and I divided that 84 months into the 125 to see what it was costing him per month not to be on the program. Okay? Because if you're going to save that much money and you're going to be done in 7 years, then how much is it saving you per month over a 7-year period? Well, before I give you the answer, I want to ask you 3 questions. Do you want to get out of debt sooner than later? Okay, thank you. The next question is, hey, if this was you and the bank called you up and said, hey, we'll refinance you from 27.8 down to 7 years, we're going to save you $125,000, would that excite you? Okay, thank you. The last question is would you spend $50 a month to save $200 a month? Would you do that? Probably said all day long, right? Well, thank you. I know they're kind of stupid questions, but I had to ask them, okay? Now, let's see what it's cost my brother if he'd have told me no that day. Now, he never did, but let's say he did. $1,488.81 a month. Let me ask you this. Would you spend $50 a month to save $1,488 a month? You see, folks, let me say this. We don't know what your number is because if you haven't ran it, you don't know what it's costing you per month. But if you do run the numbers, guess what? Take the interest saved and the years that you're going to pay it off and divide that in it, and that's your answer. Hey, would you pay $50 a month to be totally debt-free in 7 years? Now, folks, listen. For a one-time $199, and what is that for? That's for coaching and setting your program up. That's to set it up. That's for coaching. And guess what? That's for your first month. And then if you like the program, you pay $49.99 the next month. And then the next month. And if it's working for you, you stay on it, right? Now, it'll work for you because it's guaranteed. But if you follow the prompts, it will do that exactly for you. Look at this here. No contract. No refinancing. And little to no change in your budget. You look at my brother's, is that a big deal in his budget? No. Now, $50 can do that to my brother. What can $100 do? Maybe do faster, right? So sometimes it does change your outlook on life, and it does make you change, but you don't have to because he knows that he'll be out of debt in 7 years. No extra income required. Save a lifetime of debt. Folks, again, I'm thank you for your time and watching this. You know, what you need to do now is if you haven't ran your numbers, you need to run them now and see. Again, it takes 10 minutes to run your numbers. I want to end it with 2 things. Right now, I want to tell you this. The hospitals are full right now of people who are in the emergency room thinking they're having heart attacks. You know what the doctors are sending them home, telling them that, no, ma'am, no, sir, you got stress. We had a lady from our church who went into the hospital thinking she's having a heart attack. They sent her home, said it was just stress. It's happening every day all across the country. The emergency rooms are full. People are going through a stress time right now. I have another son that's 23 years old, and when he was 19, he joined the Marion County Sheriff Department. Now, this is Ocala, Florida, Marion County area, horse country. He said to me 10 months ago, he said, Dad, he said, I'm running 6 to 8 suicides per week. Per week. Now, this ain't Los Angeles. This ain't Las Vegas. This ain't New York, Miami, Florida. This is Marion County, Florida, Central Florida. 6 to 8 suicides. I said, my goodness, son. I said, what was you running when you started 3 years ago? He said, Dad, I didn't see one until a year ago. What do you think's going on with those people? You know why I'm passionate about what I do here, folks? If I could make you do it, I'd make you do it. You know, if I was sitting there with you right now, I'd twist your arm until you said yes. But I shouldn't have to do that, because I want you to think about this for 1 minute. You know, you could say, well, I think I can do this on my own. Well, let me ask you this question. How old are you, and how many years you have left on your mortgage? If you could have done it, why didn't you start 10 years ago, 5 years ago? You know why? Because we're procrastinators. Listen, this program works. It will help you to get out of debt. We better start teaching our kids and our grandkids this. You know why? Did you know that now you can get a 40-year mortgage? Oh, wait a minute. By the way, did you know you can get a 50-year mortgage? And if we don't start teaching our kids and our grandkids, what do you think they're going to do? They're going to get a 50-year mortgage so they can get the same house that it took you 30 years to get, right? So listen, get with the person who showed this to you and run your numbers. And if you don't want them to see your information, tell them you would like somebody to run their numbers. Say, I would like to have your manager run my numbers. And they will get someone to run your numbers. Because, you know, they're not here to see your information. Listen, if you don't want them to see how much you make or your debt, that's okay. They'll get someone else to run it for you. Just say, I would like to have someone else run my numbers. They understand that. They probably wouldn't give you their information, would they? So have someone run your numbers to see how fast you can get out of debt. Again, thank you for being on this presentation, and we will talk to you soon. Good night.